For years, we all watched them hunt for treasure in these forgotten, abandoned lockers. But what was really going on when the cameras weren't rolling? Well, this is the unbelievable, and honestly, kind of dark story behind the hit reality show, Storage Wars. Because behind all the thrill of the bid, behind that promise of a huge score, there was a whole other reality. We're talking personal battles, life-threatening crises, and some really heartbreaking loss. I mean, this stuff goes way beyond anything we ever saw on screen. The whole idea was just brilliantly simple, right? These professional buyers, they get 5 minutes to peek inside an abandoned storage locker, and then they have to bid on everything inside. It was basically a high-stakes treasure hunt, and, well, America could not get enough of it. And the numbers, they totally prove it. At its absolute peak, a single episode pulled in 5.1 million viewers. To put that in perspective, that made it the most watched program in A&E's history at the time. The show wasn't just a hit, it was a full-blown cultural phenomenon. And it was all built around these unforgettable personalities. I mean, come on, you know them. Each one had their own nickname, their own persona that we all came to know and love, or, love to hate in some cases. They were absolutely the heart and soul of the show. So while they were busy chasing these jackpots in dusty, forgotten lockers, the real cost of their celebrity was piling up in ways that, honestly, no one could have ever predicted. Okay, so let's start with Brandi Passante. On TV, she was the sharp, no-nonsense half of the Young Guns. But off-screen, she was fighting a series of silent battles that were so much more intense than any auction. And the contrast here is it's stark. While we were seeing them as this bickering but ultimately united team, the reality was that they had secretly split up way back in 2018. For 2 full years, they kept up that on-screen illusion, all while living completely separate lives. Then, in 2021, that whole illusion just shattered. Jarrod allegedly showed up at a bar where Brandi was hanging out with friends, an argument got heated, and it ended with him being charged with domestic violence. Suddenly, all that fun on-screen banter was gone, replaced by a really grim reality. And the pressure, it was just relentless. The breakup was only the beginning. In 2020, she had to deal with terrifying stalkers and the death of her father. Then came the domestic violence incident, and that was followed by her publicly revealing her battle with Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disease. It was one thing after another. But maybe the deepest struggle, the one that really hits you, was her fight as a mother. Her daughter, Peyton, was born deaf with a cleft palate and had to go through a 16-hour surgery. Her son, Cameron, needed multiple surgeries for a kidney mass. And all of this was happening while Brandi was working 60-hour weeks with 4 a.m. call times and dealing with stalkers who were threatening her kids. It's just an unimaginable amount of pressure. And this theme of personal crisis, it just keeps going. Let's move on to another cast member, Daryl, the gambler, Sheets. He was famous for his motto, go big or go home. But as it turns out, his biggest gamble wasn't going to be for profit. This was his signature moment. Daryl's most legendary find ever was a locker that had original art by Frank Gutierrez, appraised at a staggering $300,000. It was the biggest profit in the show's history, and pretty much the peak of his treasure hunting career. But, just a few years later, everything changed. After feeling sick for months, Daryl was rushed to the hospital, and the man who lived on adrenaline and big risks was suddenly facing a fight he never, ever saw coming. So what happened? Well, he'd suffered a massive heart attack, which led to a diagnosis of congestive heart failure. After more than 30 years in the business, this health crisis forced the gambler to finally fold his hand and walk away from the world he loved. But Daryl wasn't the only one to face a life-or-death battle. And here's where the story gets even crazier. Incredibly, 2 of the show's other icons, Barry Weiss and Dave Hester, each had their own near-fatal encounters. I mean, you really can't make this stuff up. In 2019, Barry the Collector gets into this horrific motorcycle crash that leaves him with severe internal injuries. And just a year before that, Dave the Mogul Hester suffers a major stroke that literally robbed him of his booming voice and his precise movements. 2 legends, both brought to their knees. For Barry, man, that road back was just grueling. This is the guy who lived for motion and adventure, and now he was spending months in painful rehab, fighting just to be able to walk again. His classic unshakable confidence was replaced by this quiet, determined resilience.
And Dave Hester's journey? Wow, it is a roller coaster all its own. Okay, so first he sues the network, gets himself fired. Then he comes back. Then he suffers a debilitating stroke that takes him out of the game completely. And now, in a twist that nobody saw coming, he's actually returned for the show's 16th season.
And of course, in true Dave Hester fashion, he came back with his signature, yup, and that villainous charm was fully intact. I mean, despite everything he has been through, the mogul is still ready to stir the pot. It is a truly shocking comeback. So, when you step back and you look at all of these stories together, the incredible highs and these just devastating lows, it really forces you to reconsider what this show was really all about, doesn't it? That fame they earned, well, it came with an incredibly high price. Behind the thrill of the auction was this brutal reality of broken relationships, terrifying health scares, legal battles, and a complete and total loss of privacy. Which, it leads us to the final and, I think, most important question. After everything they went through, after all the wins and all the losses, what was the thing of real value that they actually found? Maybe the ultimate prize wasn't some rare antique or a hidden stack of cash. Maybe the true treasure was just their ability to survive it all, to face down this overwhelming hardship and fight their way back, reclaiming their own lives long after the bidding was over.